For the past 30 years, Jeff Bezos has built a trillion-dollar empire by taking massive bets on cutting-edge technology. Few of his competitors saw coming. In 1994, he bet huge on the future of the internet and e-commerce and took Amazon from a fledgling bookstore to one of the largest retailers in the world. In 2006, he made another massive bet on cloud computing and launched the wildly successful Amazon Web Services, AWS, which today dominates the industry. In 2014, he went all in again on the emerging AI and Alexa voice activation technology, which now completely changed how consumers buy online and propelled Jeff Bezos to become one of the richest men in history. But on December 31st, 2021, Jeff Bezos made his next big bet that could turn out to be an even bigger opportunity. Sounds crazy. But thanks to the technology you see on your screen, something I call QaaS, Bezos has set himself up to capture the lion's share of a brand new technology destined to rewrite every aspect of the American economy. Consulting giant McKinsey & Company predicts QaaS will revolutionize everything from pharmaceuticals to oil and gas to telecom to farming to aerospace to logistics to automotive and to finance. All told, this technology could disrupt industries totaling over $46 trillion, and in the process create more millionaires and billionaires than any other event in history, prompting Yahoo Finance to say, QaaS technology could lead to life-changing returns and make you the millionaire next door. And before you start guessing, this has nothing to do with ChaptGPT or any of the other generative AI software out there. Instead, Bezos has made his next trillion-dollar bet on the most transformative tech breakthrough of this century. As Vice News reported, while advances in artificial intelligence have dominated headlines recently, QaaS technology could change our lives in ways that are even more far-reaching. Very soon, QaaS technology will solve some of the biggest problems humanity faces. Think cancer cures, forever batteries, endless power production, to name just a few. But don't take my word for it. Business Magazine calls QaaS the Holy Grail. Barron's Magazine said it would change the world, and Bank of America declared QaaS will be bigger than fire and bigger than all the revolutions that humanity has seen. Every tech company you can think of, including Google, Microsoft, Honeywell, IBM, and Facebook, all are scrambling to try to get in on this technology because they know if they miss this opportunity, they're going to be left behind permanently. And it's not just companies. Government agencies around the world are desperate to control this technology before it's too late. The CIA, the FBI, the Air Force, not to mention the Chinese, Russian, German, and Japanese governments are all in a breakneck race to control this technology. Because as one technology expert noted, the nation or company that does this will rule the world economy. Whatever you think of Bezos, there's no denying he's the ultimate disruptor. But what he's done with QaaS will reshape America's economy in ways you can't even imagine now. And for those who get in now, before the boom, it could be like getting into Netflix back in 2004, Apple in 1984, or Amazon in 1997, but with one major difference: speed. See, unlike past transformative technologies, forget waiting 10, 20, or even 30 years for a payoff. Right now, QaaS is seeing explosive growth. We're talking compound annual growth rates 3 times higher than even the massive e-commerce boom of the early 2000s. And when you consider the e-commerce boom launched, eBay, which went up 24,142%, Shopify up 5,765%, PayPal up 805%, Square up 1,900%, and Amazon up a whopping 169,283%. It's no exaggeration to say, for people who get in now, this may be the biggest opportunity of all time. Please understand, though, this is not all sunshine and roses. As you'd expect, with a shakeup this large, there's going to be big winners. People and companies that rake in billions and even trillions of dollars in untold profits. But unfortunately, as Bezos' track record shows, when he disrupts, there's also going to be losers. Just ask Borders, Radio Shack, Toys R Us. We're talking mass layoffs, huge stock price collapses, and even bankruptcies. And that's why it's imperative, if you own a single one of these companies, you need to turn off your phone. Take the next 3 minutes and take out a pen and paper, because what I'm about to reveal could change your financial future forever. I know this sounds dramatic, but you have to realize we're in a pivotal moment in history. I believe years from now, people will look back at this time as the moment everything changed. And it's no exaggeration when I say, if you don't get on board now, you're going to be left behind forever. In a minute, I'll show you the 3 simple steps you can take to cash in on this exploding QaaS revolution. including the single stock Bezos has invested in that's destined to control the lion's share of this opportunity. But first, you might be wondering, why should you listen to me? My name is Louis Navallier, and if my name sounds familiar, it might be because you've seen me in the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Bloomberg, on Fox Business News, and CNBC. And for over 4 decades, I've used quantitative mathematics and predictive analytics to spot the hottest trends long before the masses. I found Apple in 1988 when it was trading for just 37 cents a share. IBM in 1992 when it was trading at $10 a share. Microsoft in 1988 at 38 cents a share. Cisco in 1992 at 47 cents a share. Intel in 1993, $3.60 a share. Adobe in 1990 at $1.82 per share. And Amazon in 2003 at $2.01 a share. To name just a few. My investing career started in 1977 when a finance professor gave me early access to Wells Fargo's mainframe, one of the few in existence at that time. You've got to remember, back then, investing technology was in its infancy, and computers would fill up an entire room. But one of my first jobs there was to take the data provided and see if I could spot the fastest rising stocks and create a portfolio that would ultimately beat the S&P 500. And by applying predictive analytics, I built an algorithm that went on to beat the market by 3-1. And while many ask how I did it, the short answer is, even back then, it was clear to me that we were at the start of a massive sea change, where technology stocks, with their ability to leverage manpower and scale out product, were about to take over. And if you could systematically find the top technology stocks, you could make a lot more money. All told, thanks to my proprietary method, which I'll explain in a moment, I found 160 1,000% plus winners in my career, including gains as high as Nike, 88,655%, Adobe, 37,722%, down here, 52,000, 56%, and Kansas City Southern, 35,785%. And this type of success didn't go unnoticed. Forbes called me the king of the quants. MarketWatch said wonderkind, and the Wall Street Journal said most money managers could only dream as having as much success as me. I was even the subject of a best-selling book called Secrets of the Investment All-Stars. Now, I'm not telling you this to brag, but to show you I've done this before. And what I see shaping up with Bezos' QaaS technology is on an entirely new level and represents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I don't say that lightly. The sheer size of this $46 trillion market disruption we're about to witness is astounding. For comparison, if we look at previous tech disruptions like 5G, $48 billion, online video streaming services, $138 billion, and social media, $392 billion. Although massive multi-billion-dollar opportunities, their circles of disruption were limited to 1 or 2 sectors. But the QaaS technology is going to be a core technology to almost every industry you can think of, meaning it's going to unleash multiple megatrends in virtually every sector of our economy. We're talking healthcare, finance, transportation will all be rocketed by this technology. And when you factor in these industries have a market cap of over $46 trillion, you'll see why billionaire investors like Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Peter Thiel, and Mark Anderson, and virtually every top VC fund in the world, including Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, and Tiger Global, all have made huge bets on QaaS. And if you want to get your piece of this $46 trillion disruption, you need to listen very closely to what I'm about to tell you, because there's no time to waste. We'll get into the full story behind the QaaS revolution in a moment, but let me be clear, this is not a prediction. QaaS is not some pie-in-the-sky technology that's decades out before you see any real practical applications. This tech is already being used and is disrupting numerous industries. Just ask UPS. For years, delivery companies were faced with what's called the traveling salesman problem. This is the idea that when you have many different stops to make, calculating the most efficient route to take gets exponentially more difficult with each extra stop you make. In fact, with as little as 16 stops, you've got over 20 trillion possible routes. And for delivery and logistics companies, this is a massive problem and a huge opportunity for anyone who can solve it. And several years ago, UPS began using a primitive version of QaaS called Orion. And Orion's main job was to calculate the best path for all delivery drivers to take to cut down on the stops, traffic light, and wear and tear on their vehicles. Was it successful? Forbes reported Orion was able to reduce fuel consumption by over 10 million gallons, carbon emissions by 100,000 metric tons, and avoidable costs by $300 million to $400 million each year. Think about that. Thanks to one piece of tech, which is only a fraction as powerful as the current QaaS technology, UPS was able to save up to $400 million every year. And to keep in mind too, This savings is only for their trucks. That's not counting their planes, cargo ships, or any other vehicles. And they're just one company in one industry. Imagine what happens when every delivery and logistics company around the world begins using QaaS for all models of transportation. FedEx, DHL, trucking companies, pizza delivery, Uber, Lyft, everyone. We're talking about a complete disruption of the massive $10.4 trillion logistics and delivery industry, and massive returns to any company that can provide the QaaS technology. And when you consider Amazon alone spends over $89 billion on delivery costs, it's easy to see why Bezos is so obsessed with this technology and why he's made a massive bet on QaaS. But the truth is, for Bezos, logistics and delivery are just the tip of this iceberg. If you follow his career, you know Bezos' publicly stated goal is to move humanity forward. Whether it's Blue Origin, or its quest to establish livable colonies on alternative planets, or Amazon's plans to dominate new industries like healthcare, pharmaceuticals, real estate, and finance, Bezos needs QaaS technology to accomplish all of this. And that's why he's gone all in, and why he's invested in the dominant player in the QaaS market, a small Maryland firm I call my #1 QaaS stock. Quick look at the numbers shows this company is a home run opportunity. With patented QaaS technology, they're set to dominate the industry and make an absolute killing. How much? Recently, Finance Hill reported, when the potential applications of QaaS are considered, any stock prediction, my #1 QaaS stock feels like an understatement. Some investors and analysts believe it is the next Apple, Amazon, or Microsoft. And when you consider how over the long term, Apple turned $1,000 into $1.54 million, Amazon turned $1,000 into $1.94 million, and Microsoft turned $1,000 into $4.9 million. Of course, these gains are not typical, but you'll see why I'm so excited about this opportunity. But fair warning, QaaS technology is a double-edged sword. Although it's positioned to create more millionaires and billionaires than any other technology in history, it could also explode the wealth inequality in this country to levels we've never seen and create an economic divide so large it will never close. And if you get stuck on the wrong side of this gap, you're never going to recover. But that's why I put together this presentation. In the next few minutes, I'm going to lay out a simple plan any American can follow to not only avoid the economic devastation QaaS is going to unleash, but also give you the information you need to make sure you're on the right side of this $46 trillion revolution. But first, let me explain what this technology actually is. What I've been calling QaaS stands for Quantum Computing as a Service. And while the term quantum computing might sound vaguely familiar, it represents what Medium called the next leap in humanity's journey. In short, it represents computing technology 158 million times more powerful than the world's current biggest supercomputers. What does that mean in real terms? Recently, Google gave a quantum computer one of the most difficult math problems in existence, a problem that would take the world's most powerful supercomputer 10,000 years to solve. But thanks to quantum computing, it was solved in less than 4 minutes. The practical applications for this are almost too revolutionary to grasp. We're about to witness, as Time magazine wrote, this technology can solve problems in seconds that used to take years. With orders of magnitude more powerful than current technology, we're going to solve problems once thought impossible. Think cancer cures, forever batteries, and unlimited energy production, to name just a few. As fast as innovation has been over the past decade, it's about to get way, way faster. As one former NASA engineer put it, this technology is going to be the next industrial revolution. In the near future, quantum computing will make our lives unrecognizable. Just as kids today can't imagine a world without the internet and social media. That's the exact thing people are going to be saying about QaaS. Only this time, the real-life applications are going to be far bigger. Instead of just giving people the technology to post pictures online and stream movies, quantum computing is going to solve the biggest and thorniest problems humanity faces. And one of the biggest changes we'll see is with healthcare. Consider that every year in the United States, $4.5 trillion is spent on healthcare. And QaaS is going to affect every single aspect of that care. We're talking about radical changes to patient care, how drugs are prescribed, and even how diagnostics are performed. But what may be the lowest hanging fruit and the biggest opportunity is in drug creation. For years, there's been a hidden problem Big Pharma didn't want to talk about. Due to the extreme costs for developing drugs, as much as $2.5 billion, and the 10 to 15 year approval process, breakthrough drug discoveries have slowed to a crawl. Politico even asked the question, where have all the drugs gone? The hard truth is, despite recent breakthroughs in certain technologies, drug creation is stuck in the stone ages of manual testing. As one expert said, how do we find new drugs today? Trial and error. We have thousands of petri dishes with chemicals in them. We tediously see whether or not they have any antibiotic properties. But now, thanks to quantum computing's amazing ability to test, an entire new world of drug creation has opened up. Forget about manually setting up thousands of experiments by hand and watching them over weeks, months, and years. Now with QaaS, we can literally test trillions of different drug simulations simultaneously with the click of a button. What would have taken years, decades, or hundreds of years to be tested can now be done in a matter of minutes. Soon, we're going to find solutions to humanity's biggest killers. In fact, Business Wire wrote, breakthroughs in quantum computing will enable humans to cure diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's as easy as we treat the common cold. Imagine all the millions of lives that are going to be saved by eradicating devastating diseases like Alzheimer's, ALS, Parkinson's, cancer, and countless other so-called hopeless conditions. This is why I say we're on the cusp of a brand new world, and when you consider the trillions of dollars that flows into the healthcare system, it's easy to see why The Guardian reported for quantum computing, the gold rush is on. And here's the exciting part. Up until recently, due to quantum's extreme cost, overwhelming complexity, massive size, and need to be kept at almost absolute zero, which is minus 459 degrees, the benefits of quantum computing have largely been theoretical. But now, thanks to my #1 QaaS stock and a single piece of technology they patented called an ion trapper, everything's changed. Made of a composite group of highly specialized materials, including silicon, quartz, and sapphire, the ion trapper has allowed my #1 QaaS stock to take quantum computing out of the physics lab and create the first ever commercially viable quantum computer that operates at room temperature, is a fraction of the size of traditional quantum computers, is stable enough to operate in any environment, including a plane, and is as simple to use as any laptop. And get this computer is 32,000 times more powerful than any other quantum computer on the market. In other words, my #1 QaaS stock has created a computer so far ahead of the competition, it's not even close. To understand the dominance of this company recently, Finance Hill wrote, certainly, my #1 QaaS stock isn't the only company pursuing quantum computing, but it is by far the most successful, has no true competitors at this time, leaving it to command an overwhelming majority of the market. And when you consider we're looking at $46 trillion in disruptions, the gains could be breathtaking. But here's the part to understand. This goes far beyond just dominating the niche. Thanks to the ion trapper, my #1 QaaS company will play a pivotal role in the mass adoption of QaaS technology around the world, similar to how Nvidia played a central role in the development and expansion of AI. My #1 QaaS company is about to do the same thing for quantum computing. USA Today even ran the headline, could my #1 QaaS company be the next Nvidia? How exactly? Well, Nvidia specializes in making incredibly powerful parallel processing chips, and these are unique chips. They are crucial to the complex tasks needed for generative AI software like ChaptGPT. This pivotal role has allowed them to soar 2,000% in just a few years, and the same situation is shaping up for my #1 QaaS company. Thanks to their patented ion trapper technology, they're going to provide the backbone technology for the entire QaaS revolution. And just as Nvidia has soared to $1 trillion valuation, my #1 QaaS company is on the same track to industry dominance. But let me be clear, QaaS is not your typical tech disruption that's going to add a few conveniences to your life and send a handful of tech stocks up in share price. QaaS is a watershed moment for humanity, a complete restructuring of the economy that's set to open a wealth gap in this country that's never going to close. And if you're stuck on the wrong side, there's a very real chance you'll never going to catch up. In fact, I predict QaaS will devastate the middle class like no other technology we've ever seen. Forget retiring. QaaS is about to devastate millions of formerly successful Americans, pushing them out of the middle class and leaving them bankrupt, destitute, and dependent on the government for their survival. And if you don't take decisive action, you could be one of them. Now, I know this sounds bleak, but I don't say this to scare you, rather to prepare you for what's coming, because the truth is, it's already happening. A quick look at the data shows the middle class is being destroyed, and inequality is soaring. It's gotten so extreme Now, for the first time ever, the top 735 billionaires in the United States own more wealth than the bottom 50% of the American population combined. And this wealth gap is growing bigger every day. And while many blame the Fed, corruption, and crony capitalism for this growing divide, the truth is, the real cause of this massive wealth gap is technology. And while that might surprise you, to really understand America's wealth divide, you've got to see what technology is designed to do. At its core, technology makes companies more profitable and efficient. In other words, to make more money with fewer people. And what started in the Industrial Revolution with machines like the cotton gin and the spinning jenny to eliminate manual labor jobs has exploded over the last 3 decades with the advent of new software, automation, and AI, extending its impact to decimate middle-class jobs as well. In fact, according to a new study, since 1980, automation has cut over 70% of middle-class jobs. And as technology continues to increase, the employment devastation is only going to get worse. Everywhere we look, we can see technology and automation replacing human workers. Last year alone, some of the richest and most powerful companies in the world fired hundreds of thousands of people. Google fired 12,000, Meta fired 10,000, Microsoft laid off 11,158, and Amazon lost 16,080. All told, in the last couple of years, the tech industry fired almost 500,000 people, or the equivalent of the population of Miami. And one thing to notice, none of these companies were struggling. In fact, as Economic Times notes, the layoffs continue as sales and profits jumped and share prices also spiked. All these companies figured out the same thing. Technology never calls in sick, complains about benefits, forms a union, or threatens to quit. In short, it allows them to make more money with fewer people. And this trend is unstoppable. And what's painfully obvious to anyone looking, this firing bloodbath will continue as new technology allows companies to make more money with fewer people. And while a small group of billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk grew their wealth by hundreds of millions of dollars per hour, according to Bloomberg, the average American can't come up with $400 in an emergency. And that's why it's so important that you listen to what I'm about to say. Because if you think current automation and AI have destroyed the middle class, just wait. What QaaS is about to do is on a whole new level. As Medium wrote, if you're scared of AI, don't even think about quantum computing. And the Foreign Policy wrote why quantum computing is even more dangerous than AI. And it all boils down to this. Thanks to QaaS' incredible ability to process data and run quantum simulations, it's going to skyrocket efficiency. Soon companies will be able to run massive corporations with just a handful of employees. That means Wall Street is firing analysts, accounting firms cutting CPAs, and law firms are getting rid of lawyers. And this is going to happen in every industry in our economy. Soon, America is going to have 2 classes of people, the very rich and the very poor. If you want to be on the right side of this economic event, you've got to act now. I realize this may be upsetting, but here's the good news. Although there's little we can do to stop the QaaS revolution from overheating our economy, it's happening regardless. For a brief window of time, you've got a chance to get in on the biggest tech trend of my lifetime and join that small group of people who are prepared for what's coming. Here's what you can expect. For all the fantastic technological breakthroughs of the last 30 years, with the internet, smartphones, and now AI, there's been a technology that's been lagging far behind: batteries. Despite billions on research, today's batteries are essentially the same as they were in the 1990s. Prompting Wired magazine to write, batteries still suck and are frustratingly slow to advance. But thanks to QaaS and its incredible ability to test, that's about to change. Traditional lithium batteries, the ones we have now, are full of problems. Besides being inefficient, dangerous, bulky, and toxic, they're also incredibly expensive. In fact, when you buy a Tesla, 40% of the purchase price is just paying for the battery. But thanks to QaaS, a revolutionary new battery technology is emerging that's going to change everything. It's called solid-state technology, and it's something Reuters called the holy grail of batteries. Now, for the first time, we're going to have batteries that can charge in minutes, are far smaller and lighter, up to 56% cheaper, have a 50-year shelf life, and are 10 times more powerful. Gone are the days when you'll have to charge your phone every day. It could be weeks or even months in between charges. Forget about having to buy a new battery for your laptop. These solid-state batteries will last longer than your device. And consumer electronics are just the start. Medical devices like pacemakers or insulin delivery systems will be self-charging and run for the rest of the patient's life. Grid power storage will be completely revolutionized thanks to solid state. We're going to see massive increases of storage, much cheaper electricity rates, as well as an end to power outages. And this isn't even mentioning the biggest opportunity of all, electric vehicles. Since 2010, EV growth has been astounding, growing from just 0.01% of the total market to almost 10% in just over a decade. But despite this massive growth, there's still one big issue plaguing EVs. As CNN wrote, electric cars are supposed to be the future, but they still have issues that are keeping away many car buyers. The range is too short. The batteries are too heavy and expensive. They take too long to charge. But thanks to QaaS and solid-state batteries, that's all going to change. Instead of waiting 2 hours for your Tesla to charge, with this new technology, it'll be charged in less time than it takes to fill a tank of gas. And while current batteries have a range of 180 to 300 miles, solid-state batteries could give vehicles a range of up to 3,000 miles. Imagine charging your car in less than 2 minutes and then driving from San Diego to New York City on one charge and still have 300 miles left in your tank. Sounds crazy, but this is just a taste of what's in store when battery technology hits full capacity. If you think EVs are popular now, just wait until they've got ranges in the thousands of miles and can be charged in just a few minutes. I believe we can easily see the EV market double or even triple in the coming years. And when you consider global car makers are already pouring in $515 billion into EVs and battery technology, with a tripling of demand, we can easily see the EV battery market grow to $1 trillion opportunity. And my number one, QaaS stock, is going to play a vital role in this entire process. But how does quantum technology actually work? To really understand the power of quantum computing and the massive impact it's going to have on our daily lives, you've got to understand how our current computers operate. Since World War II and visionary mathematicians like Alan Turing, classic computers have operated off a digital system of transistors. These transistors are binary and operate in either a 0 or 1 state. Think of classical computers, the kind we use now, as really fast calculators that can solve one problem at a time. And while for simpler calculations, classic computers work fine, but as processes become more complex, like the kind needed for AI drug testing and self-driving cars, classical computers just don't have the processing power. But with quantum computing, it operates on a completely different set of physics. Thanks to concepts known as superposition and quantum entanglement, quantum computers can process exponentially more amounts of data and solve many tasks simultaneously. A good way to compare these two systems is to picture trying to navigate a maze. With a classical computer, even a supercomputer, it's forced to guess and check one path at a time until it stumbles onto the right one. And considering there could be thousands of, even millions of possible outcomes, this can be quite consuming. But with quantum technology, you can literally test every possible outcome simultaneously, thereby slashing the amount of time needed to test anything. And the ramifications this has for innovation are almost too big to comprehend. That's because innovation, no matter what industry you're in, works the same way. Whether you've got a new idea for a new fertilizer, drug, or manufacturing technique, they all go through a similar process. Got a new idea for an electric battery? You've got to test it in countless different ways. How does it work in the heat, in the cold? What does it do when it's wet or in the desert? How does it perform when used 15 times a day? How about 15 times a year? How long does it perform well? This kind of development cycle is an absolute mountain of tedious, expensive, painstaking work. And now, thanks to QaaS technology, what used to take years to test can now be done in minutes. You're about to watch every industry boom. Here's what you can expect over the next few years. In autonomous driving, with massive implications for trucking, delivery, logistics, and even accident prevention, autonomous driving has been the crown jewel for tech investors for years. But despite over $160 billion spent on research, the technology has hit a brick wall. What no one wants to say is that classical computers just can't handle the massive amounts of data needed to safely operate a driverless vehicle. As McKinsey said, existing computers can't fully support all of the changes required to create a connected and intelligent mobile ecosystem, a key to autonomous driving success. In other words, QaaS technology represents the key to unlocking a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And all the big car manufacturers know it. And that's why Hyundai, Ford, Daimler, which is Mercedes, BMW, and Volkswagen are all desperate to control QaaS technology because they know it's the key to controlling the autonomous driving market. In finance, over the next 5 years, QaaS technology will be involved in virtually every aspect of finance. We're talking everything from portfolio design, cybersecurity, high-frequency trading are all going to be controlled by QaaS. McKinsey & Company acknowledges finance is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of QaaS because whether it's data analytics, managing portfolios, or assessing loan risks, it's all based on number crunching. And with computing power millions of times more powerful than current technology, QaaS is going to perform calculations and simulations it would take an army of analysts to do. And in farming, although farming is not what most people think of as an industry ripe for disruption, QaaS is going to fundamentally change how food is grown and shipped. Forget old school ideas like randomly planting seeds in the ground and hoping for the best. QaaS technology is giving farmers a scientific process to maximize their crops. With QaaS, it's all calculated. We're talking everything from crop utilization, precision agriculture, supply chain optimization, pest and disease prediction, soil and water management are all specifically designed to maximize yields. Infrastructure experts at Utilities One estimates QaaS could lead to 30% better yield on the same land, and considering the total market is at over $13 trillion, a 30% increase would be almost $1.5 trillion. And here's the kicker. QaaS will also be able to cut 30% off the recovery costs. And when you factor in superior supply chain and shipping efficiencies, QaaS is about to add trillions of dollars to the agricultural market. And this is just for starters. We're at the dawn of an entire new world of breakthrough and ingenuity, and my number one QaaS stock is going to drive it all. By now you may be wondering, why am I sharing this information? After all, if things work out even half as well as I predict, it can be worth millions or even billions of dollars to the right investor. As I said, I began my career on Wall Street over 40 years ago, and in that time I've had the chance to manage a multi-billion-dollar fund, run a Wall Street Journal #1 rated mutual fund, plus my system even identified the top-performing stock every year from 2012 through 2021. In other words, I've had the chance to do almost everything you can do in finance. But despite this, I'm not your typical Wall Street guy. I didn't come from money. I grew up working class. My dad was a bricklayer, and I know what it is like to struggle to make ends meet and wonder how you're going to pay all your bills. So after a multi-decade career making rich people richer, I made a drastic change and joined one of the largest financial publications in the world. And the goal was simple. I wanted to take the skills I learned over the past 40 years and bring it to the people who need it the most, regular Americans. I want to show real people what's possible when you combine top-notch financial research and cutting-edge technology. And listen, I don't mean to sound tacky, but I've been investing a long time, and I've made a lot of money for myself and my family, more than I'll ever be able to spend. At some point, you realize just how many boats, planes, and cars can you buy. And on a slightly selfish note, giving folks the chance to secure their financial future is really fun. You have no idea how gratifying it is to receive notes from my readers across all my services, like this quote from Doug R. I just wanted to thank Lewis for my very first 1,000% winner digital turbine. I am a 2-year subscriber and I could not be happier. Nobody picks them like Louis. Thanks again, and thanks in advance. LOL. Or this note from David S. I've made over $100,000 thanks to Louis. I've had multiple 100% plus wins since 2020, including one for over 700%. Or Joseph W. stating, I've made $20,000 in the first 6 months off of just 3 of Louis' stock recommendations. Or a longtime reader who wrote to tell me, I've been a member for 23 years. I've made millions, and the model portfolio is relatively easy to use. But I'm not satisfied. I want more testimonials just like this. That's why I'm here today. I want to show you the massive potential of QaaS and the best way to profit from this new tech revolution. Because the truth is, what I've shown you so far is just what we can see for the near term. We've got no idea what types of inventions or breakthroughs QaaS technology will spur in the future. As quantum expert Peter Chapman, CEO, said, if you were to go back to the 1970s and ask Intel what they thought their microprocessors were good for, they'd tell you they'd make a really good calculator. They had no idea of the internet or cell phones or any of the other breakthrough technologies. We are in the same place today with QaaS. What's about to happen is far beyond what any of us can imagine now. But here's the part I want to drive home. You can't wait on this. The clock is ticking. As you've seen, QaaS is being adopted at a scary fast rate, almost 3 times faster than even the e-commerce boom of the early 2000s. But that's only half the story. To really understand how fast quantum computing is going to revolutionize our world, you've got to realize how quantum technology develops. For years, the classical computing world operated off of what's known as Moore's Law. That's the idea that computing power would double every 2 years. As you see, Moore's Law is not linear, it's exponential. And this exponential growth is what's allowed the iPhone in your pocket to be 100,000 times more powerful than the computers NASA used to launch Apollo 11. But as impressive as Moore's Law is, it pales in comparison to what's coming. As Life Science reported, forget Moore's Law. Quantum computers are improving according to a spooky doubly exponential rate. And this doubly exponential rate is something called Nevin's law, developed by a Google engineer. Nevin's law states that QaaS technology will not only grow at an exponential rate, but the growth rate itself will grow exponentially. And if this sounds confusing, don't worry, you're not alone. Doubly exponential growth even baffles scientists. You can see that the numbers get mind-bogglingly huge very, very fast. Doubly exponential growth is so huge, it's hard to find anything that grows so quickly in the natural world. To put Nevin's law into perspective, if you were to take a piece of paper and double it every day at Moore's law rate, by the end of 21 days, you'd have a stack over 70 stories high. Impressive. But if you were to take that same piece of paper and apply Nevin's law to it, by the end of 21 days, you would have a stack so tall, it would leave our solar system. This is the exponential scale I'm talking about and why I keep pounding the table on how fast QaaS is coming. By the time the media starts talking about it, it's going to be too late. As Life Science reported, it looks like nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. And then whoops, suddenly you're in a different world. That's what we're experiencing here. Believe me, you don't want to miss out on what's coming. As history has taught us, when you can get in early on a boom, you can have the chance to see massive gains. As I did with Apple, Microsoft, Dell, Oracle. By simply spotting a trend before the crowd, you can make some incredible gains. And what I see coming with QaaS could be the biggest opportunity of all. Already we're seeing examples of quantum computing companies soaring. Form Factor Inc. is up over 120% in the last 18 months alone. Quantum company D-Wave is up 166% in the last 8 weeks. Rigetti is up almost 100% in 6 weeks. If you compare these gains with the S&P 500, which since the start of the year is up 6%, or the technology ETF QQQ, which delivered 8% gains, you'll see it's not even close. Of course, not every quantum computing company will be a winner. When you're looking at small companies like these, there's more risk, but more potential for reward. And these companies aren't even the best plays in the space. When you see the profit potential of my #1 QaaS company, you'll be very happy you got in early. But keep in mind, every day you delay, you could be missing out on gigantic opportunities. And this is why I'm here today, to give you the blueprint to cash in on the biggest opportunity of our lifetimes. But let me slow down. I'm sure you've noticed the urgency in this message. Please know, the last thing I want to do is sound like a pushy salesman urging you to make a rushed, uninformed decision. This presentation is about my research on this investment opportunity. It's not some sleazy pitch fest. The reason for the urgency of my message is financial freedom. I want to see you have an abundance of it. And if you miss this giant window of opportunity by just a few months, you can miss out on massive gains. You can miss out on a rare opportunity to hit fast forward on reaching your financial dreams, to live your life entirely on your own terms. QaaS is the fastest developing technology in human history. The QaaS of today is much more powerful than the QaaS of 6 months ago, and the QaaS of next year will be much more powerful than the QaaS of today. Thanks to Nevin's law and exponential doubling, it's all advancing at light speed. Thanks to the rapid pace of technological advancement, industries and companies are soaring hundreds of % in value in the span of less than 1 year. 1 week, a QaaS company or QaaS application is flying under the radar. The next week, it's everywhere, and stocks are soaring hundreds of %. Because we are all connected to the internet 24/7, and because information can travel at the speed of light, once the world catches on to the new reality of quantum computing as a service, millions of people can pile into this with breathtaking speed. This means that if you wait to take a position, even a few weeks, you can miss out on extraordinary gains. We're in the very early innings of one of the greatest runs in history. And if you act today, you can set yourself up for a once-in-a-lifetime gain. Here's my 3-step plan. Step 1, buy shares of my #1 QaaS stock. Picture being able to go back to the early 2000s as the internet was booming, while all the so-called experts like Paul Krugman were telling you the internet was hype and would turn out to be no more impactful than the fax machine. You had full knowledge of the monster gains about to come. Netflix, Amazon, eBay, and that with just $1,000, you could make yourself a multimillionaire. Now, of course, those gains are not typical, and I can't take you back in time. But today, A similar situation is setting up for my number one QaaS company. And by acting now, you've got the rare opportunity to get in on what could be the next Apple, Microsoft, or Netflix long before the crowd. Now listen, I could talk for hours about my number one QaaS company. I could tell you about their patented ion trapper technology and how it's light years ahead of the competition and how they're releasing their most powerful computer ever in the coming months. They've got a projected 100% compound annual growth rate for years to come. And they're already working with Amazon, Microsoft, Hyundai, Los Alamos, Kia, Airbus, and the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA for short. And that they've got some of the top investors in the world, including Jeff Bezos, Vanguard, BlackRock, Bank of America, and Bill Gates. But instead, I put together a brand new report called My Number One QaaS Stock, the tiny company about to dominate the coming $46 trillion disruption that I'd like to send you today. Inside this quick, easy to read guide, you'll discover all the details you need to capitalize on this play, including the name of the company, ticker symbol, and all the financial information you need to make a huge return on this play. And with your permission, I'd like to send it to you today. But like I mentioned, you can't wait on this. The industry as a whole is already outperformed the MSCI World Index by almost 3 times. And like I mentioned, this is just the beginning. With the growth rate of QaaS, it could skyrocket any day now. And if you want to maximize your gains, you've got to take action now. I'll show you how to get this report in a moment, but first there's another step you need to take to profit off the QaaS revolution. Step number 2, 2 incredible QaaS stocks for 6-figure paydays. Although I mostly focus on the big upside of my number one QaaS company, there are several other ways to play this massive trend. In fact, I've uncovered 2 stocks that could turn out to be nice 6-figure paydays. As we've covered, the QaaS trend is exploding, and with all this growth, there's a ton of cash flowing into the sector. As McKinsey and Company noted, quantum computing is receiving record investments, and I found the best 2 ways to play it. Stock number 1 is an Austin, Texas-based company that specializes in cloud security. Thanks to their proprietary technology, this is one of the most profitable in the entire industry. Since 2017, their sales growth has a compounded annual growth rate of over 3,000%. In fact, they're the first company to hit $1 billion in revenue on AWS's marketplace. And now, as they begin implementing QaaS technology, they're about to cash in huge. They've already got massive investors, including BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, and have a huge client list, including AWS, Google, and the city of Las Vegas. But compared to what's coming, that's nothing. Thanks to QaaS and other breakthrough technologies, experts are projecting this company to be a $1 trillion behemoth in just a few years. Stock number 2 is one of the biggest players in the AI and QaaS space. And for over 40 years, they built a competitive advantage in almost every aspect of technology, including cloud computing, cybersecurity, software, gaming, hardware, search, you name it. But as of November 8th, 2023, they've taken their game to the next level and made a massive investment into QaaS that could dramatically improve every aspect of their business. And when you consider they're already a cash cow with a cash flow of $9.1 billion in the fourth quarter of 2023, this business is set to become the largest company in the world for at least the next 10 years. And for any investor who gets in now, has the perfect mix of stability and low risk combined with exponential growth opportunities. If you ever wanted the best path to massive gains, you need to see this stock. Step number 3, avoid these 25 stocks as QaaS takes over. As I laid out, although QaaS does have massive upside, with untold trillions up for grabs, unfortunately, there's also going to be mass devastation to both people and companies. And recently, I've uncovered 25 ticking time bomb companies that are about to be wrecked by the QaaS revolution. And here's the scary part. Many of these companies are household names and are recommended by countless financial professionals. In fact, I'd be willing to bet some of them could even be in your portfolio now. And that's not good. Imagine owning Sears, Blockbuster, or Borders as the internet took over. This is the type of devastation these companies will be facing. We're talking mass layoffs, huge price declines, and even bankruptcies. And I've written a report making sure you don't own any of these looming disaster stocks. Keep in mind, I know a thing or two about market crashes. I call the collapse of Enron, the crash of 1987, and the 2000 tech wreck. And what I see coming with these 25 stocks is terrifying. And that's why I put together a special report called Avoid These 25 Stocks as QaaS Takes Over. In this report, I outline the top 25 stocks that are going to be crushed by the coming QaaS wave. If you read one report this year, make it this one. And with your permission, I'd like to send you all 3 of these reports free. Free gift number 1, my number 1 QaaS stock, the tiny company about to dominate the coming $46 trillion disruption. Free gift number 2, 2 incredible QaaS stocks for 6-figure paydays. And free gift number 3, avoid these 25 stocks as QaaS takes over. How do you claim your free stuff? It's simple. All we ask is you join us today for a risk-free trial subscription to my Growth Investor newsletter. Each month, you'll receive cutting-edge financial research and news outlining the hottest stocks on the market. These issues are easy to read, yet chock full of deep financial analysis that gives you elite access to some of the most profitable, money-making opportunities on Wall Street. This is the same research that over the years has found Apple, Microsoft, Dell, and Oracle long before the crowd. We think the value of all 3 reports and 1 year of Growth Investor is worth $597. Yet today, with this special offer, we're going to offer you a massively discounted price. How much of a discount? I'll tell you, but first, let me tell you about one more report I'd like to give you. Free gift number 4, create your own $1 million retirement plan. As I mentioned, I've been in finance for over 40 years, and one of the most common questions I get from people who are feeling a little behind in retirement and want to know they can still build a $1 million retirement account. After 4 decades of research, I've developed a unique method to do this. I call it create your own $1 million retirement plan. But let me warn you, this method is not what your financial advisor would recommend. I'm not going to tell you you have to have a 60-40 stock to bond split or put all your money into overpriced mutual funds and wait 20 or 30 years to get rich. Instead, you're going to discover a no-holds-barred way that could help you hit the $1 million mark in your retirement account without taking any undue risk, and how you can see massive gains even if you're starting late and don't have a 6-figure income. In fact, inside this report, you'll discover the exact formula I used for over 20 years to beat the market 3-to-1. And that's not all. Inside this report, you'll also discover the 4 times of year you always want to be invested. These little profit windows are the key to huge returns in a short amount of time. A sneaky trick to cut your tax bill by almost 60%. And the best way to diversify. Forget Wall Street and their outdated 60-40 bond split. Inside this report, you'll discover the best way to diversify to not only protect yourself from a crash, but also make huge gains. You'll also discover how to determine the perfect time to buy a stock if you ever bought a stock only to watch it tank just days after you purchased it. You've got to read this report. You'll discover this and so much more in this groundbreaking report. Please understand, if you're feeling a little behind in your retirement and you need an approach that could help you build a 7-figure portfolio without taking any unnecessary risk, you'll want to check this out. And the best part is this report, along with everything else, is yours when you take a risk-free trial of my Growth Investor Research Service. Altogether, report number 1, my number 1 QaaS stock, the tiny company about to dominate the coming $46 trillion disruption. Report number 2, 2 incredible stocks for 6-figure paydays. Report number 3, avoid these 25 stocks as QaaS takes over. And report number 4, create your own $1 million retirement plan. Plus 12 months of Louis Navallier's Growth Investor would normally retail for $299. But today, through this limited time offer, we've arranged for you to get everything listed here today for a massive discount. In other words, for a fraction of the price everyone else is going to have to pay, you can get access to every report you see here. Click the link on your screen to receive your special discount offer. Why would we do this? Why so cheap? It's simple. As I said, after a 40-year Wall Street career, I'm working with one of the biggest financial research companies in the world, and our goal is simple. We want to bring elite financial knowledge to the people who need it the most, real Americans. It's my quest to show people the massive impact cutting-edge research could have on their portfolios. And now, with the exploding wealth gap and massive impact quantum computing is going to have on many hardworking people, it's my duty to give the people the tools not only to survive the coming QaaS shakeup, but to actually thrive and have the chance to make more money than they ever thought possible. And I figure the best way to do this is to give you an offer so cheap you'd be crazy to say no to. But that's not all. In order to make sure you feel 100% confident with this decision, I'd like to offer you something else. I'm also going to give you a full, no questions asked, 90-day guarantee. The guarantee is just as it sounds. For the next 90 days, I want you to go through all the research I've got. I want you to read all the reports to see my monthly issues, even paper trade my recommendations if you want, for a full 90 days before you have to make a decision. And if after a full 3 months you're not 100% satisfied with everything, just let us know and we'll send you a full refund. No questions asked. And to top it off, you can keep everything we've sent you as our thank you for giving this research a try. Just keep in mind, all investing carries risk. You should never invest more than you could stand to lose. For my small cap recommendations, there will be a buy up to price that you should follow if you decide to invest. Bottom line, with this offer, you simply can't lose. Now let me wrap things up because I know I've covered a lot of territory today. And by now, you might be feeling overwhelmed, confused, or even skeptical. And that's okay. But right now, you've got a choice. Option number 1, try to take this info and do it yourself. I've talked a lot about quantum computing as a service and the potential opportunities. And if you pay close attention and have a good understanding of higher math and technology, you might find some success. Or you can try option number 2. Let me do it for you. Why start from scratch and try to reinvent the wheel when I've already done the research for you? Imagine finding the next Apple, Microsoft, or Amazon years in advance, a stock with the potential to deliver 10 times, 20 times, or even 100 times potential. Think about the freedom that could give you. So, if you're looking for a serious research service to deliver cutting-edge info to find the top-performing stocks, you owe it to yourself to check this out. And remember, QaaS is a fast-moving story. Each day you delay, you can miss out on some of the greatest gains of your lifetime. Don't miss out on this unique opportunity. Act now and claim your place in the new era of investing.